Hi, friends. This is saying that I cannot rotate it the other direction. So, this is my first live, as you can tell. And now there we go. I thought that I could rotate the video the other way, but apparently I can't. So, I'm gonna leave it in this direction for now. But welcome, welcome. Thanks so much for coming. So I'm excited to be trying a new thing, doing some live videos on YouTube, a little sew along. I always have people asking so many questions about sewing and altering things that you have thrifted that I thought it might be fun to kind of do it in real time as a live video. So recently, I went thrifting with my daughter. For kind of our fall thing, put together this list of all the thrift stores locally that we have never been to, which actually was quite a bit. And not necessarily that we're trying to get through all of them, but to have that list so that when we have kind of girls' day out, we can go and try out a new thrift store. So sometimes when I'm out on client calls, she will come along for the ride and then we'll go to the thrift store afterwards. Of course, being an almost teenager, she's always looking for new stylish things. And I personally don't really shop anywhere other than thrift stores for the most part and don't often buy a ton of stuff for myself. So now and again, looking to revamp my wardrobe or find something unusual. But we do keep our purchases, I would say, to a minimum and try not to buy things that we don't need. So our most recent trip, I think we spent about $20 and maybe bought like 4 items of clothing. Um, and if you've listened to any of my recent YouTube videos, you will have heard my chat with Ashley and Harley about knowing our colors, which I think is just so important because knowing our colors is super important when picking out clothing at a thrift store and actually finding stuff that looks good on you that you're going to wear long term. So, one of the things that we picked out for me at the store was this is actually a jumpsuit. Um, and so I do like the color, and that's one of the reasons why I picked it out. It's definitely a different style for me, but see the color is nice. It's a color that I like. But what I don't love is this very low V-neck. And so, one of the things that I have done for clients before is trying to raise a V-neck is almost like you're putting a camisole under it, that image that it might portray. So, if you had, say, a V-neck t-shirt, you can just throw a camisole underneath it and it'll um, make it look like it's, coming up here. But this, of course, this V on this jumpsuit is coming way down. Um, but I wasn't sure what to use for color in terms of, it's always nice if you can find the exact fabric somewhere. If I'm doing dresses or something like that, there's oftentimes fabric within the skirt if I'm shortening it or something like that where I can cover up that V, but that's not the case here. And then I turned it under and realized that the lining would match. So the bodice is lined. And this might seem like an unusual solution, but I am actually going to go ahead and use some of this lining to make um my facing for my V to cover it up for the modesty factor. And at first I was undecided about where I was going to take fabric from, whether I would take it from the front of the bust area of the lining or whether I would take it from the sides. But there is a bit, so I'm just trying to untangle my tape measure. There is a bit of fabric back here in the back, and I need about 4 inches wide. Yeah, there's plenty of fabric. So I'm actually going to take that from that place. Now, this is something that I'm going to do that might scare some people if you are not used to doing alterations. But I'm actually just going to take a pair of scissors and I'm going to clip that out because I know that the lining here is loose. And the reason why I feel confident that I can take that is I know that it's not really going to make a big difference to the item. Now, the back in that place, while there's no lining, isn't going to be, as maybe you would say stable. It just won't have quite as much body. But in the long run, it's actually not going to affect anything at all. So rather than doing the hard work of seam ripping everything out, because you would have to seam rip out the side seams in order to get this whole lining piece off, I am just going to literally cut the lining piece. So, um, I wish there was a better way to show it. Maybe if I tilt my camera down again. Using a live, I'm not totally sure, but I always know what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm cutting here. Turning it around. And cutting up there. And so this here is the very top. I'm just going across. And down. So this should give me the amount of fabric that I wanted. So let's see how big it is. Yep, it's 5.5, and I only needed 4.5 by 4.5 deep. And my V here is just under 4. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and sew this edge down. Actually be nice if we had a lining piece for this lining. Let me think about that for a second. I wonder if I have anything. Because then it won't show. I think I'm just not going to worry about it. Okay. Here we go. So I'm going to try and move the camera while I am still working and transport it into another holder so that you can actually see what's going on. So let's see if I can do that. Grab the right color thread. If you come over here, I have all of these many, many, many colors of thread. So, it's almost a brown, but it's also like a reddish. Let's see if there's any. These are my browns. It is an unusual hue. That's for sure. No, I don't think this is it. Maybe. This might work. Let's see. I'll put the camera down here as I look for this color. It's not the best. That's a little off. It's funny. I feel like I always second guess the color hues. I'm just looking for some more. Maybe this one. And I'm always asking someone else's opinion. That one's not too bad. That color hue. So you can see that. You can stick to that one. One last try. Oh, maybe I found the real key. There's one more thread. I think I'm going to do this one. So to match, but I do not have a bobbin, and just going to use my necky machine. But you know what? I'm going to go ahead and use the Juki back over here because I have a bobbin wound in it. So this is my method, is that I bag my bobbins. So I have a little bobbin. And so since I have multiple machines, then often my bags of thread will have multiple colors in them. And currently I have some red thread in this machine. End pins everywhere because, yeah, you got that. As a sewist, I'm not always the cleanest worker. I think that I will be, and then it doesn't always happen that way. But I get better, and I always forever making those promises that I am going to become better at cleaning up and putting everything away. So for instance, here's this bag for this thread. We're going to throw that in there and pop this bobbin in. And start winding the machine so you can see. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and top stitch this down. There. So this is what I'm doing, is I'm just creating that finished edge that I want for the top. And the rest really doesn't matter nearly as much because it's not going to show, but I may want to think about that. I'm going to bring this back over here. And so here's the V. And for starters, I know that with the V pinned where it is, I can get this up over my hips. But one of the reasons why the V might not actually be sewn down here is because that would leave it open so that if your hips are a little bit wider, you can get that over your hips. But I'm just going to stitch that down because I know that's not a problem in my situation anyway. Okay. So from the back side, I'm just doing some basic stitches to tack this down. Trying not to make those stitches show from the outside. Now to go ahead and add this panel to the neck, not the neck, the collar. Well, it should be right about there. Over a little bit. Now I want to make sure that I have enough across. Yes, 4.5. That's about what I needed. So then go ahead and pin this down. I want to make, yep, there's plenty there. Now for this part, I can only tack it down to one side, because if I take it to the other side, then I probably am going to need a snap. Because there's no zipper on this jumpsuit, I need enough space for it to still go over my hips. And the more that I close up at the collar and the bodice, the less likely it is to fit over my hips. So then I'm going to leave one side of this open and secure it with a snap. So here, the back side, my pins are marking where it's attaching to the outside. And so I'm going to actually just do what I would call a slip stitch, nice and secure in here, and make sure that it's not going to go to the outside. Just knot my thread. I'm continuing to stitch there. Again, I could top stitch this from the other side, but I'm just choosing not to finish that up, that thread up. Okay, so then I have the 1/2 done, and now I'm quite literally going to, on the other side in the very corner, attach a snap so that it can snap shut. So some of the snaps that I have right over here. Um, just very basic snaps like that. They're called sew on snaps. And I'm just going to take it and sew it right on the underneath here. Continuing to stitch that on. It's a little bit of hand stitching, muscle memory. You get it after a while if you aren't used to hand stitching. So I'm just going in and out of these holes because these snaps have 4 holes, one in each corner. And then the opposite snap you're going to put over there so that you have I believe they're called a male and a female head to snap together. Now, if I feel like it needs more, I can always attach more snaps, but I'm just going to try it and see how it works with just one snap holding this modesty panel in. I'm almost finished. And there we go. So that's just going to snap together like that. And then like this. So I'm going to try it on and see how it works, if it needs more stitching or if it doesn't. So that's my official first YouTube live video. I hope that you enjoyed it. Just never be afraid to think outside the box when it comes to, finding a way to make something work for you. In this case, it involved, so here I have this section of the back that has no lining, but I knew that it wasn't really important for anything. So it could be used to create my own modesty panel so that I could wear this jumpsuit. So God bless and hope that you have an awesome week. Happy sewing, happy thrifting.